Welcome to my Woman of Action show. My guest today is Lola, and she's going to be sharing with you so many tips. We're going to be discussing short-term rentals, multifamily properties, investing in the States, investing in Canada, OPM, which is other people's money, tips on how to negotiate so she doesn't have to use any of her own money to grow her portfolio, and tips on how to do your due diligence when buying via distance. She's one of our Action family members who's purchased dozens and dozens of units, and she'll show you how she did it. And if you don't know who I am yet, Dave and I have purchased over 240 units using none of our own money and no joint venture partners in 5 countries: Canada, US, Mexico, Dominican Republic, and Costa Rica. Now let's get started. Lola, welcome to the Woman of Action show. So great to have you.
Yes, thanks, Mel.
Yes,
Happy
Lola,
to be here.
And I'm happy to have you. Please let our listeners know a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am Lola, and my full name is Lola, but I prefer to be known as Lola. I am a project manager, so I do work in the banks, and also that's my full-time role. And then I do short-term rentals, so I have Airbnbs, I'm on Booking.com on different OTA platforms. I also buy real estate as well here in Canada and in the US. So that's
I love it. You do lots of things. Where are you located, Lola?
Toronto, Ontario.
Okay. And whereabouts are you investing in Canada and the US?
So Canada, it's all over. So I have majority in Ontario, some of them in Alberta, and then Saskatchewan, and where is the other place? Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and BC.
And don't you love it when you have a large portfolio and start losing?
Yes, I'm trying to remember which one it is. Yes, BC, and that's for Canada. And then in the US is Florida and Detroit.
Okay, look at you. You're all over. That's amazing. Okay, but you weren't always an investor. We all start somewhere. So yes, share with us, what was your journey? What made you decide to get into real estate? And did you start with short-term rentals? Did you start with income producing properties? Please.
So how I started with real estate actually was through short-term rentals. So when myself and my husband first moved over here, a colleague of his had spoken about, how about doing short-term rentals, like Airbnb, go on Airbnb and advertise your properties on there. We didn't have anything. We didn't have any property. I just started working as a project manager. So we decided to try out. So my husband's colleague had about 15 properties in Vancouver. Okay. And we go there every year with the kids skiing. So, and then we decided, okay, let's just see how we go. So we got our first one downtown Toronto, and that's where we went live. The very first day we went live, like maybe 4 hours later, we had like 6 bookings, and we're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Like, what is this?
Wow.
We were leasing that actual property that we used for short-term rent. This was 2018 at the time. So we got the first one, got a few bookings. We're kind of excited. We started doing a calculation. In like a month, we made over $4,000. We're like, whoa, after paying the rent and the utilities, we're like, that's awesome. And we were renting.
Right?
That's exactly. Yeah, it was like pretty awesome. And we're renting our own home at the time. We're living in a little condo with my daughter at the time. So we were renting. So we're like, oh, that actually pays our rent for here too. So that's awesome. Let's try and get another one. And then we went and we got another one. And then the same thing. And we just kept going, And then what we started doing was, myself and my husband were talking, we're like, you know what, we need to start actually investing this money instead of just using it and just keep it in the savings account, let's start investing in it. And then what we did was that we had enough of that. We had over 10 properties after a while of doing short-term rentals. So we're saving all of those profits from the short-term rental market, and we used that as a down payment to buy our primary residence. And we know we didn't want to go too far out. So we decided we wanted to stay in the Mississauga location where it's closer to my daughter's school. And my daughter really loved the school at the time. I have 3 girls right now, but at the time we only had the one. So she wanted to remain in the same school, and we really loved the school for her. So we got the house in Mississauga. It went well, and then we realized after the first day we closed on the property, we like 2 weeks after, the realtor that sold us the place called and said, "Oh, hey, Lola, guess what? Your property has gone up. It's got a lot of equity in it." We're like, "Whoa, that's awesome." So then we decided to take out of that equity and buy the next one. So we put down payment into 2 single family homes in Niagara region, Niagara Falls, in Canada. And we started to use that to do short-term rental as well. So we started using that for short-term rental. We started getting a lot more profits from that. And then we use part of that as well to buy our other property in Alberta. So we bought a property in Alberta, and then we used some of that money to also buy another 2 properties in Port Credit. They're condos. So condo in Port Credit, 1 in Kitchener. And this is all from the proceeds and profits from the short-term rental business.
Wow.
So that's kind of OPM as well, I feel. And then we started hearing about OPM, and I had a lot of colleagues as well at the time that would reach out to me and say, "Oh, hey, Lola, I know like you guys are really good in this real estate game, and I don't really know what to use with my money, can I like give you the money and then you can like add a little bit of interest on top of it?" So we started doing that. And then we started hearing about OPM. We're like, that's kind of what we're doing, but we need to make sure it kind of aligns properly to make sure we both, like myself and the other investor, are kind of like benefiting from it. And that was what brought on the whole, okay, you guys popped up and we're like, okay, let's join the group. So it was myself and my business partner, who is Keisha London. She's also in the group. We decided to form a company called Investor Partners. And then we used that to us buying more and more properties. So when we joined the group, we knew about OPM, but we just didn't know how to make sure it was beneficial for the investor so they could always come back,
Right.
and beneficial for us as well. So we had a lot of people reach out to us and said they wanted to start investing. So with the cash flow matrix that we got from the group, we decided that would be that's like a best template for us to be able to easily, in a click of a hat, put the figures in there, and then it pops up what if it's a green, if it's green for us to invest with this with the interest.
I love the colors. Yeah. It's either green or red, right? We're pretty.
It's a green or red.
Yeah.
Because we always have people that reach out to us and say, okay, they want an answer within an hour. We do have properties that we do buy as well, and we have them on standby because I have a very good realtor that we work with. So when they reach out to us, they want like quick answers. By the time I'm putting everything together and then getting back to them is a little bit too late because I have to get this figure, that figure, like do everything manually. The cash flow matrix kind of automated our process. So every time an investor kind of reached out to us, we just plugged the numbers in there, found the property, and then we go ahead and say yes or no if the interest rate that the investor was offering us was good enough for that particular property. What we tend to do is that because we don't like saying no to investors, because it's a good thing that they reach out to us, because then it means that we're competent, we know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So what we do is that we do tell them that at this time, this particular property will not benefit us and them, that we do have another one down the line and we'll reach out to them. So that was kind of how we started buying our own properties using OPM. So aside the properties myself and my husband own, I also have properties with Keisha London, my business partner, Investor Partners, that we buy as well using heavily on OPM. Because we do have investors that reach out to us. We actually had an investor reached out to us, I think it was immediately we joined the Action family. I feel it was maybe like 6 months after an investor reached out to us 2 hours away from GTA, Owen Sound.
Oh, nice.
He had a fourplex and he wanted to do vendor take back. He said all he needed us to do was to bring the 20% and he would fund the rest. And that was kind of big for us because majority of our deals like that, they're usually far out and they're not in like close to GTA. And the price he was offering us was pretty awesome because at the time when we closed, we had over $200,000 in equity already. So it was kind of awesome in that. So we didn't want to let that go. We had to.
No, you're going to find a way to raise those funds.
We had to raise those funds. And we did raise the fund because we had another investor that gave us the down payment as a promissory note. So that was pretty awesome, actually.
So let's dive into that. Okay, so you had an amazing start. You were making some great money. You decided that you want to do even more with OPM, which you were kind of reusing. It's known as OPM as well, but you really wanted to explode even more because doing it the way you're doing it, there's only so many refis you can do, of course, in a year. So I love that. So you expanded your knowledge. You're doing all those things. Did a promissory note, and for those of you who aren't sure what was a promissory note, to slow it down a little bit, it's a contractual agreement between the person who has funds, money, and they want to put it to work, in this case with Lola and her partner, to get an interest in return, right? We were very big on win-win. And of course, Lola made sure, I'm sure you made sure to do your due diligence, made sure the cash matrix was green, not red. And that's why people want to lend, because it's a win-win, and they see that you can have my big exit sign, that you have your exit strategy, before getting into the deal.
Correct.
That you get that. Okay, so then I'm assuming, did you end up, you did the promissory note, do you still own the building now?
We still own the building, actually. We're actually in the process of doing a refinance on the property. So we have paid, we have paid off the second investor. It's just the owner financing. We're trying to, because the building had over $250,000 in equity, so we could pay off the $120,000 that we used towards a down payment. We paid that off with the other investor. So that was pretty awesome, actually. And it's a fourplex. When we got it from the owner, it was not tenanted. He gave it to us like empty. So we went in there, did a due diligence, did a home inspection. Because it was so close by, Keisha and I decided to just drive down and then just have a look at it and to see, have the home inspection come in. There was a few minor things that needed to be changed. It wasn't detrimental, because at the end of the day, it was a really good deal. It's pretty, like, I would say, in my years of doing real estate, it's pretty hard for you to find somebody to do a vendor take back of 80% just 2 hours away from the GTA,
Okay, well, let's touch on that for a moment here, because he did it for a reason. He reached out to you for a reason. He probably saw that you're an investor as well, but why did he do it? Because I think it's important and maybe you don't know the reason, but otherwise, okay, so why would somebody reach out to you and hold that much, 80% of loan to value?
So what he had said to us was he was tired of doing the whole property management and the whole management of the building. He basically gave us a figure, and he said, listen, as long as I get $2,500 every month, I'm good. Give me $2,500 every month. That's the absolute minimum I want. So we had to make it work. So when we did the numbers, it was looking like, it's a squeeze, but we knew it was a good deal. Like, it was a good deal. Like, you would not find that in the GTA, 2 hours away from GTA, you would not find that. And it was a fourplex, it was empty. So he wanted to retire. He was fed up. He was tired of dealing with tenants. He didn't have a property manager, so he was tired of dealing with tenants. He just wanted to just get out. And he found that he wanted someone that's competent enough to take over the building and not run it down, because he had said that he had a tenant in there, and actually two tenants in two of the apartments. And it took at least, because he reached out to us while the tenants were still in there and he was trying to evict them. So he was like, oh, you know what? I'm fed up. I want you guys to come take over the building. And we said, you try and get a tenant out first. If you get a tenant out first, we can sign the deal from today, but we will not close until that will be part of our condition, that you get a tenant out first. Because he said the tenant has been there for over 6 years and wasn't really paying a lot in money. He didn't really have time. He's elderly, he didn't have time to go in and chase them up. So he actually took him 6.5 months to get them out. And he said a fix in the place for us. So when we did go and see the place and do due diligence and sign the paperwork, he had basically changed it up, did a few painting here and there. There was a few things that needed to happen, but like I said, it was a good deal. So we just decided to just take it.
Okay. And I love that. And that's the mindset. And thank you for explaining that, Lola, because I think it's important for people to understand because some people I often ask me, but Mel, why would anybody do that?
Mhm.
If it's such a good deal, why would they get rid of the building? But the reality is, every one of us are at different stages in our lives, our careers,
Right.
our wants, our needs. In this case, this gentleman was ready to let go of the
Yeah,
property.
it was.
And that happened to us many times as well, where the owner was just like, okay, I'm ready. I've done my 20 years. I made a great money and I'm ready to move on. Or sometimes I hold financing on properties, although I'm continuing to grow my portfolio. I have 4 deals that I'm holding financing
Yeah.
on. Why would I do that? It helps me from a capital gains purposes.
Correct.
And I have interest every month, right? So people do it, of course, because it benefits them, not just the kindness of their heart, but you really make it a win-win. In this case, Lola, it sounds like you were bang on with your negotiations. He told you
100%. Yeah.
what was important to him. You made sure that you can make it happen. He worked with you on it.
Yes.
And okay, so I love that. That's a great example. So what is
There is another example I actually have, Mel. There's another one that a investor reached out to us as well. Back in Digby, Nova Scotia, it was a 7-unit building, and he wanted us to take over ownership as well. And he wanted to do only 50%, and we had to look for the 50%. So that was kind of difficult for us, because a lot of lenders, if you come in, like a lot of lenders we had at the time, they didn't want the whole, oh, they have to come second. They wanted to come first. And then the owner wanted to come first. He didn't want to come second. So it was a bit of back and forth. And what we did with that deal actually was we offered the owner a little bit more. We made it creative for him. So we said, you want to sell us this building at, I think at the time was $395,000. And if you want to sell it to us for why not sell it to us for $420,000? That way you're still making money. But this way, if you hold financing for us, could you just do 40% and we find someone to do 60? That way they can go up and you can go with the bottom. So he was happy with that, because then he still made more money. You have to always creatively do deals, and that's the beauty of like creative financing. You have to think ahead of everything.
I love that. I love how you turned the situation, made it a win-win for him. Of course, in this case, just for those listening, I know you know this, you have to make sure that the appraisal is going to be worth
absolutely.
that. Otherwise, you'd have a hard time financing. But obviously, in this case, the numbers worked. So you made it a win-win. And that's the thing that what makes the difference between typical regular people who may not want to pay a little bit extra because they're just thinking smaller picture. I don't want to spend that extra. And that was me at the beginning, by all means. That was my mindset. I'm not spending an extra 10 or 20K. Are you kidding me? However, bigger picture, if you buy this property now, it's none of your own money. If you're able to cash flow pretty much from day one or once your renovations are done, and now you have the properties for years to come. And of course, with real estate, it's going to appreciate over time. As well. So that's amazing. What is your portfolio, Lola? I know that you're in the States. Well, like, what does it look like now?
So I have, so myself and my husband, we own our own, and then Keisha and I, my investor partner, we own our own as well as a company.
Oh,
so
nice.
for myself and my husband, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10.
Hey, woo, we made it to 10. Well, that's
10.
worth celebrating.
And 3 of them are duplexes. The rest of them are single family homes.
Okay.
And then about investing in real estate. You can invest far out. And the beauty of the way technology is running now, you can always sign the paperwork online with your lawyers, right? You don't necessarily need to be in that particular state. So yeah, so that was a beauty I learned in my journey in real estate.
Wow, that's amazing. And congrats to your husband and Keisha as well. I love all the action that you've been taking. Wow, I can't keep up. That's amazing. And that's, I mean, within a matter of years, right? About what, 5 years?
Yes, it was from 2019.
Wow, fantastic. That's great. So, okay, so you're expanding your portfolio. What would be a tip that you would share to do exactly that? Because, and I want to speak specifically about investing in different areas, because some people live downtown Toronto, some people live downtown Vancouver, or in California, and different areas where it is more difficult to cash flow. That's just BC. You mentioned BC, although you're still investing there, you're still finding those deals. But like, what's the mindset that you had to have to be able to go further outside of home? And at many times for you and Keisha, not even seeing the properties. Like, what's that mindset? And what would be like, if I were to walk away, I'm scared of going somewhere outside of my town, how would you convince me to do so?
So my whole thing is, you find the property. My mindset is different from Keisha's mindset. So my mindset is, as long as there are people living there, they're going to be renters. Not everyone can afford to buy. So majority of people want to rent. With the way the real estate is going, not everyone can afford to buy. So what I tend to do is that I look online for like deals that are far out and make sure it works for me. You know, it has to work for me. It has to cash flow from day one, which is why I go further out. That's the main reason why I go further out, because it has to cash flow for me. So I then look for a property manager out there. So once I put the property on the offer, I make sure I find a property manager. That will be part of my 14-day due diligence period. So I find a property manager, I get them to go have a look at the property, I interview them, make sure they're okay. They're okay to take over management of that property. And then I do home inspector as well. So even if I'm not there, the home inspector is basically working on my behalf because he's getting paid by me. So he goes there, and then we do a video call. I have a look at all of the property. I tend not to nitpick on every single item in a property. As long as they're renters that can rent it, I'm not really fussed about it. I'm more on the gain of it. Like, as long as a renter can rent that property, which is why I interview the property managers for that property to make sure they're a good fit for that property. So those are part of the due diligence I do. So investing far out is no longer, at the first time, hands up, hands on my heart, I was scared. But when we had spoken to a home inspector, he's very well known in the area we're investing at the time. And he said to us, he said, you don't necessarily have to come. Like, I can just go there and have a look and do a video call with you, you know? And we're like, oh, we never thought about that, you know? Why do we have to buy a ticket and fly all that way? We can just talk to you over the phone video call. And he gave us that confidence, you know? If he didn't give us that confidence, we would have had to keep buying and traveling out there. But he said, no, you know, I have investors that buy all the time. They don't necessarily have to go to where they're buying, you know? We can do that while we're on the phone. And then once you pass the due diligence period, you can then decide if you want to come over there and look at the property. But we decided not to, because we just felt, okay, it's fine.
Right. Well, you did your due diligence. You felt comfortable having the right people, getting people to walk through, looking over it via video. And that's the thing, you don't have to go in person if you're very doubtful, you're not sure, but at some point, we've done that many times as well, where we don't look at the property ourselves, we rely on a team that can help us do it, because that's their expertise, that's what they're trained on, and we can spend our time doing what we're best at doing, is finding those deals and negotiating and making it a win-win with sellers and all those great things as well. So I love it. I'm super proud of all your successes. That's very amazing. Great. So let's head right into the questions of action, the women of action questions. What advice would you give, Lola, to your younger self?
My advice would be, Lola, you should have started real estate early on. You shouldn't have waited till now. And Lola, just keep going. You have done great. You've done great so far. I wish you had started maybe buying properties earlier, maybe when Mel and Dave were buying properties. Not now where you have to put in offers or like 10, 15 offers and you have to kind of match those offers. But yes, Lola has been doing very great. And I wish Lola had started real estate early.
Right. So right now is the time to continue to buy. So you don't
Exactly.
have 10 years and wait and say, oh, I wish I was even younger, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah. And I feel like experience as well and having a good mentor. I always tell people, when it comes to me and they're like, oh, how did you do all of this? Having a good mentor is very, very important. Because if you don't have a good mentor, if you go out there, I have colleagues that made mistakes, they've gone and bought a property and didn't work well for them. They're out of pocket every month, and they're working as well. So at the end of the day, real estate is meant to be buying your financial freedom, not adding more to it. So it's just that enlightenment, having the good mentor that would help you through that process is very important. That's what I tell people a lot.
Love it. Love it. Okay, question number 2. What's your number 1 tip you would give to someone who wants to get started in real estate?
My tip might not work for them. My tip was I started with short-term rental, so doing arbitrage in short-term rental and then using the profits from that to buy real estate. But what I could say for them is, you can buy real estate if you have a family member that has money that that they're not using at the moment. You can borrow off them and use that towards down payment. You need to get a mentor to help you through the process, because having no experience and going into something so huge like that with no experience, it can be very detrimental. And I have an example for that. There's one of the property we're going to buy, which is far out. And we just told the realtor, which is why I said having a home inspector is very important, your home inspector. We told the realtor to go have a look at the property. He was when I was selling the property as well. So he just went and said, oh, it's really good. It's good to go. Let's sign it off. And we didn't want to wait for the home inspector because the home inspector was saying he was backlogged and it would take him at least 3 weeks to get to the property. So we were like, oh, the realtor says it's okay. So why not just go firm on the deal? And that was, we're going through the condition, waive the conditions. So we almost did that. But if we didn't have experience, we would have done that. We would have just said, oh, the realtor said it's okay. Let's go ahead and do it. He can rent it out. Mel, do you want to know something? The home inspector went into that property and there was no roof. On the second, there was no roof. Like, he sent us a picture and said, guys, there's no, half the roof is gone. I'm like, what do you mean? So there's no roof, like half the roof is gone. And then the kitchen, there's no kitchen appliance, there's nothing in the kitchen. No stove, like the whole countertop is gone. And we're like, wow. When Walter said he's been there, he's seen it. So you can imagine if we had waived our conditions and gone firm on that, that would have cost us a lot of money already.
It's huge. And think about that as well. This is where it's really important to do your due diligence, and often having somebody external out of the transaction where, again, agents can be fantastic. They can help in so many ways. They can recommend people if you're dealing with the right ones. But if you're not, at the end of the day, that's a pretty big paycheck for them as well. They may not just be thinking, for that purpose, but having somebody very neutral going in.
100%.
Get excited here.
I couldn't agree more. 100%.
Neutral to go in and do that due diligence, because those are the kind of nightmare situations that you want to avoid. So I would definitely recommend that. And thanks so much for sharing as well. More than one person going through.
I know. Sorry, I have another thing to share as well. One thing about investing far out is having a good property manager. Like, we had a property manager from hell. We had a property, it was a fourplex, and we always had the tenants complaining all the time. They weren't paying rent, but we didn't hear their complaints. Property manager just came to us and said, oh, they're not paying rent. We need to evict them. And I kept saying, but why aren't they paying rent? That doesn't make any sense. Like, the building is fine. We're doing everything they're telling us to do. So why aren't they paying rent? One of the tenants moved in and then she Googled the company and reached out to us. My admin picked up the phone and then passed it over to me, and I picked up and I was like, why are you calling us? You should be calling the property manager. And she goes, no, she told her A, B, C, D, E. This is not being done. She has a son, the heater's not working, there's no hot water, the window is breaking. She sent us all these pictures and we were absolutely gobsmacked. We were like, this is why they're not paying rent. A good property manager is so important. The minute we fired her and hired somebody else, we haven't had a single issue. So the tenants have gone ahead and paid their back rent as well, because they said the reason why they were not paying rent was because the property manager wasn't listening to them at all. She wasn't even listening to them. Like every time they explained to her what was going on in the property, she just told them, well, you can move out if you want to, you don't have to stay, And I feel that's very horrible. So which is another thing, if you're investing far out and you're not yourself taking over the property as a property manager, you want to hire somebody outside, please make sure you do your due diligence and you actually interview them properly.
And listen to the red flags, right? That's a red flag. If somebody's not paying. And yes, there are some tenants that just won't pay, and that's how they do it. And they go from one place to the other. It's unfortunate. But sometimes, and again, it's not the best solution, of course, that's not what we want. And good for the tenants to find a way to reach out to you. But essentially, they weren't doing it because they felt that their place wasn't safe. They really didn't have water. Like, you need water for your tenants, for young children, right? It's all those things. So good for you and good for them for reaching out to you as well and doing what you had to do. All right, well, this is not working out with this property manager.
Yes, no.
Let's move on and find somebody who meets our standards as a company, because it is a business that you're running. It's important to make sure that your tenants are well taken care of. So I love that. Lola, you've shared so many tips with us today. You're full of knowledge. I love it. I think that people are going to be reaching out to you. And if they want to do so, how would they reach out to you, Lola?
They can reach out to me via Investor Partners Inc. So we do have a website called www.investorpartners.ca, or I'm also on Facebook, Lola, and then my last name, Odu9K. You can find me on Facebook, so you can reach out to me there.
That's great. Lola, I've been wanting you on my show for a while.
I know.
So thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on your show.
Okay,
thanks, Mel. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
So many tips were shared today during this episode. I love how she's doing so many great things, from short-term rentals to multifamily to investing across North America as well. Love everything you've been doing, Lola. Congratulations, and keep taking action. And if you're inspired by Lola, please make sure to give her a thumbs up from this video as well. And if you'd like to be inspired by a woman of action, please make sure to check out this next video. I'm Investor Mel, and I'll see you there.